The last operation was released 3 years ago and we haven't seen an operation since. But what if I told you that Valve secretly released an operation that went unnoticed? In the last 6 months, Counter-Strike has seen some major updates such as adding the left-hand view model, new maps, and new features. What people aren't talking about is that if you combine all of these updates, you get something similar to an operation, which I would like to call Operation Sugma since Valve can suck my balls. On April 25th, we got a huge update that Valve called On the Other Hand. In this update, they released the left-hand view model, which is a lot different from what it was in Global Offensive because switching your view model is now similar to just quick switching your gun. They also released the ability to pick up weapons, grenades, and the bomb from the buy menu, which tied into the release of Dust 2 being added into the active duty pool. Since players on T side of Dust 2 can spawn so far from each other, they felt like they needed to add a feature so you could easily drop weapons in the buy zone of the map. Something else they added in this update is the grenade crosshair. Before this update, you would need a custom bind to have something very similar to this, but Valve decided to go ahead and add it into the game, which makes it easier for new players. 1 month later, on May 23rd, Valve released an update called Fire Sale. They said, and I quote, "Today's update included some love for the CT economy. This update added price cuts for the M4A4 and incendiary grenades." Oh, did I say that this update included some love? Because they also reduced the spread and duration of incendiary grenades. Other than the grenade changes, we saw the kilowatt case for the first time, and this case had a new feature that gave you the ability to rent skins instead of spending $300 to get the skin you actually wanted. So far, after reading just 2 updates, I say Valve could have combined these to make an operation, but there's one thing that we are forgetting, and that's new maps. And I have great news for you guys because Valve recently released an update with 5 new maps. On June 25th, 2024, Valve released an update called The Real MVP, and in this update we got 2 new wingman maps called Memento and Assembly, which gratefully let you play these maps with 100 FPS. Adding to this, we also saw our first new arms race map, which every Counter-Strike veteran knows, and that is Pool Day. Pool Day also had a bug when it was released where you could get on top of the map, and it wouldn't be a Valve update without something being broken. Lastly, in this update, they added 2 new competitive maps, which are Mills and Thera, which was once named Santorini and made by the famous FM Pone, who is the creator of Cash, and that is one of the best maps ever made in Counter-Strike. Valve also snuck in a new MVP banner, which no one really asked for, and then they decided to name the update after this. Now let's compare all 3 of these updates to the last operation, which was Operation Riptide, released almost 3 years ago. But first we need a baseline for what an operation actually is. Now, an operation is a form of a DLC consisting of community-created content, including community maps, a purchasable operation coin, and a lot of content from Valve. Now, that is a short description, but I think we all know what an operation usually gives us, which is a new case, which could include a new knife, a new game mode, new features in the game, an operation coin, new maps, new stickers, and my personal favorite, a Fortnite Battle Pass.
Fortnite Battle Pass.
With all the recent updates, let's compare Operation Riptide and see if Valve actually did release a new CS2 operation, just in different parts. To start off with a comparison of Operation Sugma and Operation Riptide, we can see that Valve never added a new coin, so I went ahead and created my own, and let me know in the comments if you think this should be added into the game. Now that we have our operation coin, let's look at the small updates in Operation Riptide that Valve added into the game, which is Private Queue. And all this really does is add a new feature for friends to be able to play together in a private game, and seeing that Valve added a small feature like this, we can see that the recently added grenade crosshair and the new MVP banner could fall under this category of small updates in an operation. Moving on from small things, and no, I'm not talking about myself, let's look at the Riptide case, which relates to the recent Fire Sale update, since this update releases the kilowatt case. Since this update released the kilowatt case, we all know that new operations give us a new case and sometimes a new knife. One thing that Valve did add was the ability to rent skins from the kilowatt case, which makes us even more likely that all these updates were an actual operation that they just decided to release in parts. One of the most important features added in Operation Riptide was the ability to drop grenades. This feature changed Counter-Strike forever because this created new metas that were never imagined. Sometimes operations have new features like this added to the game, and we saw something similar to this in the recent update called On the Other Hand. This update added the ability to pick up guns from the buy menu, which made it easier to drop weapons and grenades to your teammates because it didn't matter how far away they were from you, and you no longer had to play hot potato to get a gun that you asked someone to drop you. In this update, we also saw the addition of the left-handed view model, which needed to be added for all the weird people in the community. Since Operation Riptide added a huge feature of being able to drop grenades, we can put the buy menu update and left-handed view model under the same category of big features in an operation. Now, this is really starting to add up up and make me question, did Valve actually split up their operation into small updates? I think the answer is yes, because in Operation Riptide, we saw 5 new maps added to the game. 5 maps might seem a lot for CS2 at the moment, but you also have to remember that CSGO had a lot more game modes than what we have now. Operation Riptide added new maps for game modes such as Bomb Defusal, Hostage Rescue, Wingman, and Danger Zone. From that list of game modes, we are currently missing Bomb Defusal and Danger Zone, but that doesn't mean Valve hasn't given us new maps for the game modes that we have. In the last big CS2 update called The Real MVP, we witnessed 5 new maps added into the game. That sounds like something I just said. Didn't Operation Riptide add 5 new maps? Now this is starting to get a little crazy because the last 3 Counter-Strike updates are starting to look a lot like an operation if you add them all together. So in order for me to find my conclusion, let's pull out Kamala Harris's favorite thing in the world, a Venn diagram.
I love Venn diagrams. It's just something about those 3 circles. And
shout out my girl Kamala Harris for this idea, but I wanted to show the difference of Operation Riptide and Operation Sugma with this amazing Venn diagram that I just made in 5 seconds. Starting off with small features. Now in Operation Riptide, we saw the feature added where we could do private queued matchmaking, where we could send a code to a friend and we could all play together in a game. But Operation Sugma also added stuff like the grenade crosshair, changes to the incendiary grenade and some of the CT prices. So each of these operations did have something similar, which is why this goes into the middle. So moving on to big features, in Operation Riptide, we had the grenade dropping. They also added the riot shield, which I would say is more of a smaller feature, but with the grenade dropping, that's obviously under the big features because how meta shifting that is. But in Operation Sugma, we saw a lot of big changes, which I would almost say that the change of the incendiary grenade and not just the price, but how it works and functions is a big change. We also saw the change of the buy menu where you could pick up weapons. Dust 2 was also added into the active duty map pool, and the feature of being able to rent skins. And since Operation Riptide also had a big feature added, I'm going to put this in the middle as well, because obviously they do share similarities with how these features, especially the features, do shift the meta, so I'm going to put that one in the middle. So moving on to the new case, Operation Riptide gave us the Riptide case. Operation Sugma gave us the Kilowatt case, which also had a new knife, which was the Kukri knife. And I'm going to put that one right here in the middle. And then we're on to new maps. Now, we did just talk about this right before I shout out my girl Kamala Harris. The Operation Riptide gave us 5 new maps, and Operation Sugma gave us 5 more as well. Now the game modes were different because Operation Riptide gave us one in Bomb Defusal and Danger Zone, but since we don't have that in CS2 right now, I wouldn't really say there's a big difference because we got 5 maps from each of the operations. Now everyone knows with operations comes missions, and I really didn't bring this up in the video because I felt like you only get missions in operations, and Operation Riptide did have missions and it did have the Fortnite Battle Pass. Now Operation Sugma doesn't have that because Valve didn't release just some random mission thing that you had to do in the game, so we're obviously missing this a little bit. But what we can conclude is that the 3 updates that Valve gave us was actually just a chopped up operation that they decided to not release for I don't know what reason. So the conclusion that we can pretty much decide is that those 3 updates were an operation that a lot of people just looked over into 3 larger updates, and when you really do break them down and compare them to some operations in the past, we can see so many similarities and pretty much just make up our own operation, which is Operation Sugma. Now I don't know if Valve is going to release an operation in the future, but I do know for certain that these updates that they did just release were going to be a part of some operation, but I think the CS community were pushing for so many updates that they just decided to break it down. So if you guys did enjoy this video and enjoy this different type of video on my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys subscribe to the channel and like the video, and also comment down below if there's any other features that you would like to see added into the game, either into small separated updates like Operation Sugma, or if you want a big operation like Operation Riptide. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.